Yeah, yo, 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 it's the ugly truck driver. How the flock are you? Watching the Sunday news. You know what, people? I think the whole goddamn world is off its friggin' rocker. I don't know how many of you try and keep abreast on the news, even with the liberal socialist news media, much less you get on the conservative side, or fair and balanced, as they say sometimes. And I'm listening to the talking heads on TV, these moderators, the talking heads, the people come in as pseudo experts. I used to be a colonel in the military. I was a 4-star general. I used to work for the CIA. I'm a former FBI employee. All them types, right? And I'm listening. And I mean, there is so much crap going on in the world today. I don't know where to begin. I mean, here in the United States, we've got problems because of Obamacare, problems with the IRS, problems with the Department of Justice, problems with the State Department. We call them scandals. And of course, our government, those 535 idiots on Capitol Hill who are now on a 5-week vacation. Tell you what, in 43 years of trucking, I've never had a 5-week vacation. I've been unemployed for 26 weeks after the stock market crash in 2008, but I wouldn't call it a vacation. And then we listen to the crap going on in the Middle East. And of course, we go back to Benghazi. What difference does it make now? Extortion 17. And now we've got ISIS or ISIL, whatever you want to call it, with Al Qaeda, Hamas, Boko Haram, any one of these Muslim idiot groups that you want to pick on, out just tearing up the turf and tearing up the territory and killing people left and right for whatever reasons. And I watch these talking heads, not only on TV, but these geniuses from the government, not just the American government, from all the governments involved. Maliki in Iraq. You watch the idiots over in Europe. They're protesting the Jews for defending themselves against Hamas. It's called genocide. But see, I watch these talking heads on television. I watch their expert representatives that are talking about crap. And of course, we have no idea what our military is actually doing. I mean, this current thing that Obama's got going. Well, we'll fly a C-130 into the top of this mountain once a day with some food and water for these Christians that are caught up there that ISIS wants to wipe out. And we'll send 1 or 2 FA-18s and bomb a truck convoy here or a 155 millimeter cannon someplace else. That is like a horsefly biting on a horse's butt. Doesn't do a damn thing. And then you look at the history of America. We, the people that give out billions and billions of dollars a year for support to these foreign countries, and most of them don't even like us. They take our money, they hate our guts. They come back and try and kill us. But it's the talking heads that drive me goofy beyond belief. These wannabe know-it-alls on TV or on the internet. They have an answer. I want to ask you a question. I don't care if you're in Europe, England, Africa, India, Korea, wherever. If people in your country are getting hammered by terrorists that just want to kill you because you're not one of them, how long would it take you to fire up some defensive mechanisms and strike back? I'm looking at Iraq right now, ISIS and ISIL, just completely wiping out and killing anybody that is not Islamic or an Islamic fundamentalist. The government there, after we pulled out in 2000, what was it, 11? No, Obama said, oh, it's all locked down, it's good. ISIS came in, running like a madman. The Iraqi army dropped their rifles, they dropped their clothes, went and hid. But I have to ask you, if you had the power, if you were the he-bull in charge, and there you were facing genocide somewhere in the earth, I don't care where it's at, Europe, North Africa, South Africa, any country. But if you were the he-bull in a given country and had the military might, would you just sit there and talk it to death? Because, you see, that's all these talking heads are doing. I don't care if they're in the government, in the Congress, in the White House, on TV, these retired military types that think they know everything. And then we get to the bureaucracies like the FBI, NSA, the rest of them. And then you get this genius that currently occupies the American White House that always leads from behind. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I'm frustrated beyond belief. Our American people say they don't want boots on the ground in Iraq. We spent 12 years there, lost about 5,300 troops. In Vietnam, we spent about 12 years there, lost 56,000 troops. Do the math. Neither war is going to be won because it was supposed to have been a negotiated settlement. But see, the problem is, you can sit there and say, I'm at peace and we're not going to make war. But as long as the enemy decides it wants to make war, you're not safe. Because it's coming for you. By hook or by crook. And all these political geniuses, all these generals, military types, politicians, no matter what country it's in, sit there and get all surprised when they knew 2 years ago that ISIS, now ISIL, was growing up to be the biggest badass son of a bitch on the block. And they ignored it. And they didn't have any boots on the ground to follow it. They had no intelligence to follow it. And when all of a sudden it blew up in their face, they're all surprised. I don't have an answer for you. I can tell you one thing. If I had the power and authority, yeah, like they'd trust me, right? I'd see somebody like ISIS and say, okay, you don't want boots on the ground. This idiot that is the president of Iraq has no balls. He destroyed his own military through religious prejudice, racial things, drove out good generals and good troops because of their religious beliefs. And that's why when ISIS hit the wall, they all dropped their guns and ran, kind of like France during World War I. All talk, no guts. But if by some unbelievable chance The ugly old truck driver had that power. And the American people say, no, we don't want boots on the ground over there because we've already been there. And I got a couple of aircraft carriers, maybe one in the Mediterranean, one on the other side there. What was it, out in the Indian Sea, or that little thing that goes on up in there to Iraq and Iran, that little ocean? And I got 140, 150 FA-18s, F-16s, whatever. I just sit there and say, okay, guys, this is what you call targets of opportunity. You get up in the air, we get our AWACS out there flying around with their radar. Anything that moves, looks weird, or anything else, you drop a Hellfire missile or a 1,000-pounder on them and be done with it and don't feel sorry on the way back while you're hitting the refueling rig. ISIS, people like them can be stopped. Yes, we're going to have a few civilians killed, just like over in Benghazi with Israel and Hamas, because that's the way they operate. Face it, life sucks sometimes. Go look at how many civilians were killed in World War II in France and Germany and England and all the rest of that. Millions and millions by both sides. Get over it. War kills people. But if you sit there and you tell your pilots, this is your objective. You will fly over thus and so territory. We have AWACS out there. They will delineate as best possible what looks like a target of opportunity, and you will just wipe them suckers out. See, this is another thing, old Chuck Hagel in the Pentagon, you know, those idiots down there in Washington went and retired the Warthog. It's a 20-year-old plane. It's below subsonic. It can't do the job. Warthog was the best close ground support airplane ever designed. And they retired it. Well, we can't maintenance it, keep it up, and the company that makes it doesn't make it anymore. You got the plans, don't you? Get another company to build the goddamn things. This is how retarded our government is. Right now, we could use a whole bunch of those Warthogs over there in Iraq. You ever hear that minigun on the nose of it go off? Blah! 30 millimeter irradiated rounds. Yeah, you don't want to be under it when it falls. It's just like in Vietnam, the old C-130s we had from World War II. And we put Puff the Magic Dragon in their side doors. You didn't want to be under it when the shit hit. But the thing's quite simple. Under genocide convention laws through the United Nations, which is the most useless piece of shit in the face of the earth, that is the United Nations, we can go in there, kick ass, take names with impunity, and not be held responsible. We just get our aircraft carriers positioned right, get ground positions right, backup support right, our AWACS in there right, maybe get a couple of SEAL teams down there on the ground with their little laser finders and say, here you go. You watch an FA-18 with a laser-guided bomb go over and go, there may be 10,000 ISIS or ISIL military types out there. They're the most low scumbag people on the face of the earth, cutting off and dissecting and killing even children. These people are like mad dogs. They just need to be shot in the street. No excuse, no hesitation, just outright frigging kill them on sight. No provocation, just kill them. Kill their machinery. Oh, that's the military stuff that Obama left over there for the Iraq army that they couldn't deal with or run or whatever when the crap hit the fan and ISIS took it, and ISIS broke into a bank, got a $500 million to play with. Yeah, them, Iran, Afghanistan. Yeah. You see how screwed up this whole thing is? So Obama doesn't want boots on the ground for this operation. They haven't even given it a name. But the other side of the fact is they're bragging, well, we're getting food supplies into the people on top of this mountain. Yeah, they're getting one C-130 in there a day, which doesn't supply enough to feed or help maybe half the people up there. I seem to remember at the end of World War II, when Russia had the blockade on Berlin, we had a thing called the Berlin Airlift with C-130s, C-121s, whatever you want to call it. You mean to tell me we can't do a daisy chain of C-130s into the top of that mountain? Not just one. 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. Dropping them down food and water. And for those that are capable of fighting up there on a hill, how about dropping them down some AR-15s, some M60s, some AK-47s? Or would that be using your head for something besides a hat rack? I don't know. I just ask the questions. But see, while these talking heads on television, these geniuses in the Pentagon and in Washington, D.C., want to browbeat that, and we'll get this next week. We'll get this 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. In the meantime, while they're talking a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you got people fucking dying on the ground, asshole. What you going to do about it now? We never hear that. And, of course, here we are. We're like 7,000, 8,000 miles away in America. We don't really have to worry about somebody dropping a missile on our ass. I often wonder, all these geniuses in the Pentagon, on television, these retired types that offer up all their opinions on what we should do, could do, or whatever, even to including the idiot in the White House. If all of a sudden a few rounds came tossing into their turf from out of nowhere, how they would feel about it. I remember in Vietnam, the worst word we could ever hear was incoming. And you're scrambling like crap to find a place to hide because you don't know where it's going to hit. These talking heads on TV, these ex-military types that are advisors, these geniuses in the NSA and the FBI and the Pentagon and wherever else. You've heard me say it before, once they get into the Pentagon, with all their stars and bars, they're nothing but politicians with a monkey suit on. That's a fact of life. But what would it be like if Barack Hussein Obama stood up in front of the world, strapped on a set of steel balls, stuck a steel rod down his back, acted like an American and a president, and sat there and said, we're not taking this crap no more. I want my military over there in Iraq, and we're going to kick ass and take names any way we can. You don't want troops on the ground? You didn't say nothing about airplanes, baby. I seem to remember Vietnam, North Vietnam. We had a thing called B-52s. We used to carpet bomb. Imagine what the hell would happen if ISIS all of a sudden got carpet bombed. They're sitting there outside of that town, was it Erbil? And all of a sudden a whole fleet load of B-52s came in and just carpet bombed the shit out of a 20-mile area around Erbil. Anything underneath it was toast. And of course, like the F-4 Phantoms, the 104s and all that in Vietnam, they love them things called napalm. Let's have a barbecue. They want to sit there and kill and cut people's heads off and cut their arms and legs off and hang them and stick their heads on a post. How about we barbecue some ISIL? See how that fits under your package, huh? Let's see. This is just the imaginings of an old wore-out truck driver that served some time in the military, saw a few things, grew up in a military family, heard the war stories, and maybe one of the few people who remember people like Patton, MacArthur, damn the torpedoes. Oh, yeah, well, that was the last war that America ever won. That was World War II. Everything's been a negotiated settlement since. You don't get into a war or a fight and plan on coming out second best. Be damned these talking heads. Be damned these politicians. Be damned these morons that think they know more than you and I do. It's like an old saying, sometimes you got to get down in the mud with the pigs to fight them and beat them. And if that be so, baby, put your deep waders on and your brass knuckles and let's get ready to get to it. But that's just the ugly truck driver's opinion. What's yours? I just asked the questions.